Dear students, very good morning. Welcome back to our e-learning program today. As far as biology is concerned, you all know that we have covered. As far as biology is concerned, there are 4 chapters, as you know, of biology. Chapter number 6, 7, 8 and 9. 6, 7, 8 we have already covered, that you all know. Okay. Last chapter number 8. Actually, I have already given you an idea that first 3 chapters in biology, that is chapter number 6, 7 and 8, where discussion regarding various life processes which are responsible for the maintenance of life and also for the survival or for the existence of every species of living organism on earth. In chapter number 8, we all have discussed regarding reproduction process, where we have studied that every living organism, either unicellular or multicellular, both participate in the process of producing new living organism of its own kind, own type. Understand why? To continue their generation. Understand, to guarantee the survival of their species in the process of evolution. Now at that time, when we were discussing about reproduction, at that time we discussed one topic. Today, as we are starting a new chapter, the last chapter in biology, that is your chapter number 9 in PPT. By mistake, 7 was written, but I made it 9. You can understand it. You are smart enough to guess this. Chapter 9. And what is actually the title of the chapter? Heredity and evolution. That means, my dear student, in this particular chapter, we are going to study about heredity and evolution. Two words are very, very important for you to understand. Our first target was to discuss only about heredity and not evolution. You can divide this particular chapter 9 into two parts. First part will be a discussion about heredity. Second part will be a discussion about evolution. Let us first concentrate in today's lecture number 1 today. Understand, today we welcome you to our lecture number 1. Understand, and we are going to discuss today. Let me write the title of the lecture today, lecture number 1. Okay? And in this, what actually we are going to discuss about, that's very important. We are going to target one topic, heredity. Understand, what is actually the meaning of heredity? We are in some lectures. We will discuss about one word, that is heredity. Actually, what is the meaning of heredity? You all know, and somehow we have discussed in our chapter number 8, reproduction, where we have discussed one topic in detail, that is, during the process of reproduction, maybe either asexual or sexual reproduction, when new progeny or new offspring is developed, it is no doubt it has much similarity with the parents, but there is always some minor deficiency in the DNA copying. Either it may be asexual or sexual reproduction. No doubt the new offsprings or new progeny which is developed, looking much alike with the parents, but there are some variations. Because, as I told you, complete DNA copying is never possible. There always remains some sort in the copying of DNA, and that is welcome also, because it will give rise to a new offspring or new living organism with some more variations. Understand? Now what happens? Actually, as I told you in chapter 8, during asexual reproduction also, though two parents are not participating, only one parent is responsible for the process of reproduction, but at that time also the new offsprings are always born with some minor variations. That minor variation passes from one generation to next generation. Similarly, try to think sexual reproduction when two different parents, understand, two living organism, male female, with lots of variation, participate in the process of reproduction and produces a progeny, that means child. So that child, no doubt, is ultimately a reproduction of their parents. And because both the parents are transferring their hereditary characters with the help of genes, we have discussed this word also. These genes are nothing but they are part of DNA which is present on chromosome. If you can remember, we have discussed it also, that chromosome possess, if you can remember, I have drawn a diagram also of chromosome, double helical structure. If my dear student you can remember, right now, double helical structure of chromosome, that was given by Watson and Crick, understand, and here lies the DNA material, as we have discussed somewhat in chapter number 8 also. This is DNA. We are not drawing the complete diagram. A part of DNA, understand, DNA, as you know, deoxyribonucleic acid, a part of DNA is called gene, understand, and that gene is actually responsible for the transfer of hereditary characters, means in other word you can speak inheritance of characters of parents to be transferred in the next generation, that is in their child. So ultimately, my dear student, one thing is clear, that inheritance of hereditary character occurs due to the transfer of DNA, genetic material from their parents with the help of carrier chromosomes. You all know zygote is formed by union of sperm cell and ovum. Both contain 23 chromosome. 23 chromosome of father, 23 chromosomes of mother, 23 plus 23, 46 chromosome, 23 pair. Understand? So zygote is ultimately a result of union of sperm and ovum, means variation of mother and father, understand, through which child is produced. Now actually it's not a part of our study, but it happened that when in zygote 23 chromosome from mother and 23 chromosome from father combines in forming the zygote, actually crossing over take place. Crossing over means exchange of pieces of chromosome, means some pieces of male chromosome transfers to female chromosome and some pieces of female chromosome transfers to male chromosome. That process is known as crossing over. Just I show you, suppose I show you one male chromosome, suppose. Just try to understand. Suppose male chromosome, and suppose this is a gift of male father, okay, to be specific, and suppose a mother's chromosome, okay. Now my dear student, actually what happens, suppose this is male and this is female, that is mother. Now actually such 23 chromosomes are from father and such 23 chromosomes are from mother. And what happens actually, the chromosome, what I am explaining here occurs in all 23 pair. I am just explaining one pair. Crossing over take place. What take place? Crossing over. What is this phenomenon is about? During crossing over, what happens? Some piece of male chromosome stick to female chromosome and some piece of female chromosome stick to male chromosome. Understand? Means you can understand this piece transfer here and this segment transfer here. As a result, what happens? Now this will not remain entirely a male chromosome. It is a mix-up of male chromosome and segment of female chromosome. This is not entirely a female mother chromosome. It is mother chromosome with a segment of father chromosome. In this way, by the process of crossing over, what happens such? 46 mixed chromosomes are produced in the zygote, and then cell division, cell proliferation, cell differentiation, then tissue formation, organ formation take place. And my dear student, when a child is produced, the child will definitely possess maximum similarity with their parents, but child is also born with some variation. He is not exactly look alike of the parents. There is some particular variation, understand, occurs in child. Now that child, suppose boy, when grow up, he is no doubt born with inheritance of some similarity of parents, but with some variation. Now when that child grow up, become mature and attain the age of puberty, that child marries to one girl. Boy marries to girl. Girl is also a progeny of their parents with much similarity of their parents but with some variation. Now when they get married, understand, and they produce a new progeny, the new progeny, their child will have some much similarity of boy and girl but with some variation. Again, that child become mature, become adult, attain the age of puberty and get married to another girl. And when they produce a child, he is again a similarity of parents but with variations. So this way, my dear student, generation to generation, accumulation of variation take place. And sexual reproduction is indirect promotion of speed up of the process of accumulation of variation. And this accumulation of variation actually give different individual different abilities to cope up with the environment, to cope up with the nature, and as per the Darwin's principle of survival of fittest. Those individual progeny with variations are able to cope up with the environment, are able to survive, and those who cannot are eliminated from this planet. You understood this? Actually, suppose you think of some bacteria. You all know that bacteria does not survive in high temperature or in low temperature, that you all know. But suppose it happened that the environment heat, means heat of the environment suddenly rose. And you all know that bacteria cannot survive at high temperature, but if it happened that some bacteria created such variation in their body, understand, that they are able to survive even though the temperature increased, and rest of the bacteria who could not accumulate such variation will be eliminated. So those bacteria which survived even in this changing environment will remain, and they will give rise to the new generation which are such bacteria who can withstand high temperature and high heat changes. So that is actually the process of accumulation of variation, and that's a must for us. Understand, without accumulation of variation, we doubt that so many varieties of living organism must not have existed if they haven't brought variations in their bodies. Otherwise, it would have happened that our earth, on our earth, there will be no life form must have existed today if such variation are not born. Understand, my dear student, you all know that a variation is a part of life. We are called, you studied in 9th standard, we are called modern men. Our name is, scientific name is Homo sapien. So actually we are also, a human being has passed through so many generations, and then we became Homo sapien. Understand? So where those generation has gone, where those Rhodesian men, Australopithecus men, those ice men, understand, so many generations of human being has passed. Our last generation was called Homo erectus, and then we, Homo sapien. So where Homo erectus has gone, and why these changes occur? We were not able to run straight and stand straight before we became modern men. Understand, actually, before modern man, we passed through one generation, Homo erectus, where such changes took place, variation I call, in our bones of pelvic girdle, that we are able to stand erect, walk erect, and run erect, and then the modern man. Understand, it may happen, my dear student, that some changes might take place, and from the modern man generation, few species from us may be able to survive. They may create some variation in their body to changing environment. We all are eliminated, suppose, and some will survive. When I say some, doesn't mean some, it is a huge number. Then those modern men, Homo sapien, I must say, who created some variation in their body will survive, understand, and will continue. The next generation will give rise to some other species which today we are called Homo sapien. It may be some Homo, some other name. So my dear student, in the process of heredity, accumulation of variation is the greatest gift of nature as per Darwin, which will give you a chance to survive in changing environment. Understand? So accumulation of variation is a must in the process of heredity. Okay? Now my dear student, one more thing. Whenever we are speaking like inheritance, heredity means inheritance of characters from your parents. To be specific, as per textbook, we can use the word inherited traits. Actually, how these traits are expressed in the next generation, how it happens, how the inheritance of traits is expressed in the next generation, that answer Darwin could not give. But that answer was given by one of the famous biologists, Mendel. Mendel actually performed so many experiments, and he was able to give us some law. Two laws he has given. They were called the law of inheritance. Actually, this law explained that how the traits are inherited in the next generation. Chromosome genes no doubt plays an important part in that, but Mendel actually really explained how the traits are inherited from parents in the next generation through some experiment. Okay? Before we study and understand those experiments, one thing has to be very clear in your mind. Sometimes such notion prevail that suppose father and mother, parent, you start thinking, suppose father are tall and mother is short. So when a child is produced, he is not the average, he will not attain the average height of mother and father. No, it is not going to happen. This is the notion in our mind sometime, that father or from father and mother, if one is taller and one is shorter, The child is not attaining the average height of father and mother. It is not actually the essence of inheritance of hereditary character. No. Actually, Mendel, by some experiment, understand, tried to explain us regarding two types of inherited trait. First, he called dominant traits, not down, dominant traits, and second, he called recessive traits. What is actually the meaning of dominant traits and recessive traits? Let us try to understand by Mendel's experiment. He selected one plant, garden pea. Why? Because he observed so many contrasting visible characters in garden pea. Some plants were taller, some were shorter. Some plant has round yellow seeds, some plant has wrinkled green seeds. Then some plant has violet flower, some plant has white flower. So many contrasting character in one species only. Should I mention again why he selected garden pea? For explaining us the law of inheritance. So many contrasting character he could visualize in garden pea. What are they? Tall and short plant, plant with round yellow seed and wrinkled green seeds, as well as plant with white flower and violet flower. He tried so many experiments on this contrasting character and tried to explain us the law of inheritance, means how traits are actually expressed in the next generation of their parents. Understand? One experiment he performed on garden pea, and on which character actually he targeted. So he targeted taller plant and shorter plant. Okay, let us try to understand that experiment. Okay, actually they are rules of inheritance of hereditary character. Okay, let us try to understand this first. Actually selected garden pea because in that lots of character could be visualized. Okay, my dear student, let us try to understand it. See, what he must have done, what he has done. He selected one tall parent, see, one tall plant and one short plant. The tall plant has genotype. Genotype means I may say genetic pattern also. It can also be called DNA design or DNA pattern. Understand? What is the genotype of tall plant? TT. It is pure. We are talking of monohybrids. Understand? Its genotype is capital T T. The word genotype hasn't been used in textbook, but you should understand. Shorter plant, this is another garden pea plant. It is purely short plant. This is purely tall plant. So it has genotype. In textbook they have written TT, small t. Here this is written SS. SS or small t, it's all equal. Okay, my dear student. He took, just try to understand this particular experiment. He took one garden pea plant, taller plant, purely taller genotype, take capital TT. Another garden pea plant, short plant, purely short plant, though it is SS, you can read it small t, small t. Its genotype is small t, small t. Now what happened? When he pollinated both the plant, what would you expect just now? What I told you, that suppose you think this is father and this is mother, so it doesn't mean that the character exhibit or distribute in this way, that the child born will be of average height of father and mother. Never. Actually, he expected this. Actually, we also expect this only, that if there is some difference in the heights of parents, then child born will be average heighted of father and mother. But actually, he observed one sparkling phenomenon. What? When he took, when he observed the progeny which are formed by pollination, between this pollination, fertilization, we can use the word, understand, with these two parent, one long and short, one tall and one short, what he could observe, you can call it F1 generation. What you can call it? See, it is written F1 generation. In the F1 generation, what sparkling phenomenon Mendel observed? That all plants, all progeny, all offsprings were taller. Understand? All offsprings were taller. No offspring was born short heighted. That means what? That means Mendel wants to convey us one message, that because all plants, all offspring, all progeny are taller, understand, he wanted to explain us that when you think that all plants, all progeny or offspring are taller, will they have same genotype TT? He wanted to be sure about that. Okay, will they have the same genotype? Because this character of dwarfness was never expressed in the first generation. So he started thinking about this. What he started thinking? Okay, will this first F1 generation plant has genotype TT? If they have genotype TT, all, then if you self-pollinate out of this offspring any two, so what will happen? All next generation plant will all be taller. He performed this experiment by selecting two taller parent plant only, because he wanted to be sure about the genotype or genetic pattern of the F1 generation plant. What he did? He selected again two taller parent plant and pollinated them, and what he observed, all progeny were taller. So here also all progeny were taller. You understand, my dear student, what I want to explain you? He wanted to be sure about the genotype, about the genetic pattern of the F1 generation. And he was thinking that the genotype of the F1 generation offspring or progeny must be TT, because all are taller. And to be sure, he pollinated two taller parent plant, and he could observe that all were taller plants and with genotype TT, capital T. But he was doubtful that when he pollinated tall and short plant, no doubt all progeny or offspring of first F1 generation were taller, but now he wanted to be sure about their genotype. So what he did, he again pollinated two plants from F1 generation. See, my dear student, just don't concentrate on this. Huh? In textbook it is written capital T, small t, capital T, small t, TS, it's okay. But don't concentrate here. He selected two plants from F1 generation and pollinated. As a result, what he could observe in the next generation, if genotype of both. Why I am not asking you to concentrate on this? Because here if TT, then all plants are taller with genotype TT. But when he pollinated two plants from F1 generation, he observed again one remarkable phenomenon. What? That all four progeny, just now in diagram 4 shown, so we are speaking 4, doesn't mean 4, that you can understand. But all out of all progeny, three offsprings of the second generation were taller and one offspring was shorter. That means what? To be shorter, the genotype has to be TT, means SS here, and to be taller, the genotype has to be TT. But actually, my dear student, what happened? You just try to understand the genotype TT, TS means T small t, TT and small tt. That means what? Here what happened actually, that though out of the 4 if you assess by percentage, 75% is to 25% means ratio 3 is to 1, that you can understand. 75% were tolerant and only 25% were shorter plant, dwarf plant. Means if 100 plants, 100 offspring are produced, suppose in F2 generation, then out of 100 progeny, 75 offsprings are taller and 25 offspring were shorter. Dwarf means the ratio 75 is to 25 means 75 upon 25 is to 25 upon 25. 3 is to 1, that's the ratio. That means what, my dear student? Here no doubt TT genotype, so it is going to be taller plant. Here this is sparkling which you need to understand. See, here TT genotype. So that though you can understand, that's the sign of taller plant. In last one, my dear students, see, SS means small t genotype. So it is obviously going to be shorter plant because they possess a pure genotype, capital TT and small tt, small ss, whatever. But here what? Here TT, TT. So that means what? It possesses both capital T, small t, capital T, small t. That means what? Why? Actually, that plant has to be medium heighted, but it is not the case because it possesses the genotype capital TT, but actually what happened? Though it possesses genotype capital T, small t, capital T, small t, they are taller plant. What does it mean? It means that in this progeny, the traits of tallness are dominant traits. Try to understand, my dear student. That's the law of inheritance actually. Understand, in both this progeny, what you observe, that which trait is dominant. The traits of tallness is dominant trait, and traits of shortness or dwarfness is actually a recessive traits. Could you understand this? Actually, what happened if you observe four offspring? So, 75% were taller, 25% were shorter. What does it suggest? That it suggests that in the F2 generation, which trait is expressed more? The traits of tallness is expressed more than the traits of dwarfness. Means you can say that tallness is a dominant traits. Dwarfness, shortness is a recessive trait. So it happened, my dear student. That is what you need to understand, how the traits are inherited in the next generation. That is very important for you to understand. And this is how actually Mendel tried to make us understand that how the character, how the traits are transferred to next generation, but how actually they are exhibited. Understand how they express themselves in the generation. Understand? So one thing has been clear, that first generation, in the first generation, or you think of second generation, which trait you can call dominant trait? Tallness. Which trait you can say recessive trait? So that is short heightedness, dwarfness. So actually, my dear student, you should understand the first law of inheritance. What does it suggest? That in the next generation which is produced by parents, it happened that the first generation, only one trait will be dominant, but in the next generation there will be mix up of the trait. Then also the dominant trait will rule. 75% it rules, and 25% the recessive trait, which was never exhibited in the first generation, will be visualized, though 25%. If reverse processes occurred, suppose shortness or dwarfness will be dominant trait, તો આનું contrast, what would have happened? Can you tell me? All must have, all are short heighted plant. Contrast of this, my dear student, try to understand. Then in when two short plant, dwarf plant will be pollinated, then what would be the result here? 75% short plant and 25% understand taller plant. So that can happen, that during the process of reproduction, traits are expressed in such a way that one trait may be dominant and one trait may be recessive. It can be seen in us also. Out of the two parents, one parent is always sometime exhibited more in child than the second one. Sometimes we utilize the word कि by some boy he is more looking like his father than mother. That means what? Mother hasn't contributed in your birth? See, but the traits of father are dominant than the mother's trait. But in the next generation it happened that there will be the mix, 25% will be possessing some mother's character and 75% possess father's character. But my dear student, in the process of inheritance, what is important for you to understand is that some traits are dominant, predominant, and some traits are recessive trait. And dominant trait doesn't allow recessive trait to exhibit, express themselves in first generation. In second generation, that recessive trait will try to express themselves, then also they are suppressed by the dominant traits, and dominant traits are more observed 75% also in the next generation. So the ratio is 75% is to 25, 3 is to 1. You understood, my dear student? Here 4 plants are shown, doesn't mean you should think of 4. 4 means I just want to convey you that 75% are with dominant traits, taller. Only 25% which I have shown one plant, that is short or dwarfness. Suppose Mendel has performed experiment in this way. Just try to understand. How many pea plant he selected in the second generation F2? 1064. See, total pea plant selected equal to 106 from F2 generation for self-pollination. Out of this, number of tall plant 787 when self-pollinated in the next F2 generation. Number of short plant when only 276. Understand? If you take the ratio 787 is to 277, you divide both by 277, it turns out 2.84 is to 1, tentatively 3 is to 1. You understood, my dear student? He performed same experiment by selecting one another. Just now I saw that PPT also. Okay. Here also, just now he also observed the same ratio when he selected some other character contrasting, that is about flower, violet flower and white flower. In the first generation, what happened? Most of the plants were having violet flower. That means violet flower means color of the flower is violet. It is dominant traits, and color of the flower white is recessive traits. So all plants in F1 generation will be born with violet flower only. But it doesn't mean that they possess a pure genotype of the only violet flowered parents. When they are self-pollinated, so in the F2 generation again what happened? Out of all the plants, 75% were having violet flower, only 25% having white flower. That means, my dear student, when he selected this character, not tallness and shortness, but plant having violet flower and plant having white flower, he was again became sure that in the first generation only one character, one traits dominate, and that traits which dominate is here violet flower. And but in the F2 generation, when two parent plant from the first generation are pollinated, then in the next generation it can happen what, that out of the total plant 75% were born of were born with dominant traits of violet flower, and only 25% plant born with having only white flower. So again this is again an expression of traits in the F2 generation where one character dominate, which we call dominant traits, and one character which gets suppressed though try to express itself in the F2 generation, that is called recessive traits. Okay, my dear student. So in today's lecture I could explain you the topic of accumulation of variation. At the same time, I also explain you heredity, inheritance rules given by Mendel, understand, by selecting, by doing experiment on garden pea regarding, in first is selected which character, tallness and dwarfness, shortness, and in the second he selected the color of the flower, violet and white, and he got the same result, that 75% were taller with violet flower, 25% were shorter or with white flower. In both the case, which character dominated, tallness and color of the flower, violet, and which were recessive traits, so dwarfness and color of the flower, white, that was the recessive traits. Okay, my dear student, I expect that in chapter number 9, heredity and evolution, you might be able to understand the topic. Okay, that is the rules of inheritance. Mendel also performed another experiment by selecting that contrast character, round yellow seed, wrinkled green seed, but that we will explain, that again another rules of inheritance. Understand that in that case he wanted to explain, we will discuss later on in next lecture, there will be no case of dominant traits or recessive trait. Every trait will express itself in the next generation. That's the second rule of inheritance given by Mendel. Okay, my dear student, you might be able to understand. Okay, we are trying you to make you understand through the PPT lectures. Okay, thank you very much from Bharat sir for attending today's lecture.